Hi, Katie. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment. We're going to give everyone a chance to find us. I know this is a different platform than a lot of us are used to. In the meantime, while we're waiting to begin, if you all would introduce yourselves in the chat. In the chat is going to be easiest for me to keep track of everything tonight. So I put a prompt there for asking for your name, your learner's name, age, species, breed, any relevant info like that. And then I'll read off your intros. I'll introduce myself and my already very chatty cats, who are seemingly going to be happy to demo tonight. And then we'll dive in. We'll go over the agenda and all that. So as you all are typing, I'll let Katie kind of kick us off. Katie is my 1-year-old cat. She is mostly blind. She had a lot of scarring as a kitten, so she doesn't have very much vision. It's not the sense that she relies primarily on, and yet she has no trouble using the buttons. She has been asking me for some wet food, kibble, and pumpkin. Those are her favorite menu items. There is wet food out, but it's not her favorite wet food. So I'm going to take this opportunity to model the concept of different, that she wants a different wet food. We'll talk about all the pros and cons of food buttons and all that as we go along here tonight. But for right now, yes, and you're going to get some kibble too. Yes, yes. So notice how I'm talking to her. I'm also pressing buttons. Yes, Katie. Yes, yeah, we're gonna do some different wet food. Yes, 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 different wet food. So she is very enthusiastically letting me know she is into some different wet food. So I'm pulling her favorite here. What do you think? Is that more like it? So I like to bring things to the board. That way, this is the zone of reinforcement for them. This is where all of the action happens. So not only is it where the buttons are being pressed, but at least especially for her, since she can't see me fulfilling her food order, bringing over what I'm prepping to the board, letting her smell for a moment, that can all help drive home the point that that button equals what she's asking for. Yay, Katie. Oh, and that's Ash, my little senior mini American Shepherd. He is a resource guarder. So Katie gets fed, elevated up on a little feeding station here. Katie, do you want a scoop for your wet food? Scoop. There we go. So notice again, I'm talking to her. Scoop is just to be picked up and carried somewhere. So I'm talking to her in addition to demonstrating and following through. We'll go through all of that in depth, but while I have Chatty Cat to demo here, doesn't hurt. All right, y'all. Thank you for all of your introductions. Beth, welcome to you. Calvin, great to have you. Calvin is our guide relations coordinator and a customer service representative for FluentPet and has had a ton of success with his cat, Jason. So always great to have you, Calvin. Kobe, welcome to you, and Finn, 3-year-old chocolate lab. Ellie, welcome to you and your 2 cats, Jack and Archie. Haven't started yet, no worries, but they want to communicate. Love it. And hopefully after tonight, you'll have an idea of where to go, where to jump off. This I can tailor to each of you, what you need, what level you're at. And this is only the jumping off point. I'll be sure to share some continuing education and some great programming that we have as you continue to advance with your buttons. Gia, welcome to you, and Beamer. Mixed breed rescue, senior, but not sure how old. I love it. And there are lots of successful senior learners out there too. So don't think that just because they're older, obviously I'm not saying you think that, but many others think, that, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you absolutely can. It might take a little bit longer for them to see the value, but you've got a much larger vocabulary on average with our older learners than you do a younger one. Emily, welcome to you. And Winnie, a rabbit, love it. Only received buttons last week and are working on target training. Fantastic. And I'll be sure to share some target training videos that are great for smaller learners as well, not just our dogs here. That's so exciting. I love different species than average there. Kristen, welcome to you and Rudy, 9-month-old golden doodle. Just received our buttons last week, trying to introduce it. He's interested in the buttons, but does like to nibble on them right now. Okay, no worries. And it might be worthwhile for any of you who have learners that are wanting to mouth at the buttons, at the soundboard, perhaps scratching them up for the cats out there. Some dogs want to dig at them a bit as well. It can be really useful to consider adding a button for that behavior. If they want to chew, give them a chew button. If they want to scratch, give them a scratch button. And then when you observe that behavior or them starting to mouth it, you can press an appropriate action, direct them to a bully stick, a yak cheese chew, antler, whatever is safe and approved for them. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a great way to redirect. Sandra, welcome to you and Kenji, 10-year-old Labradoodle. Nice. Happy birthday. He received a starter kit for his birthday. And Beth says, 5-month-old ragdoll cat, Maccabee. Love it. The cats are representing tonight. Lean, welcome to you. And Icarus, Iggy, another senior representing. Very excited to get started. He potted the buttons today, thinking that there were treats underneath. But we'll talk about how we can associate the button itself, the sound coming out of the button for those who have auditory feedback, those that can hear. Yeah, we'll talk about all that. No worries at all. Sounds like you're still on the right track, and it's great to have that excitement to start off with. Kathy, welcome to you and Sailor, 1.5 years, just getting started. And no worries, Beth. We'll see if we can't get Maccabee to start noticing the buttons more. And Gabrielle, welcome to you and Rudy, 3.5-month-old German Shepherd. I love it. If anybody hasn't had a chance to introduce themselves yet, feel free to do so in the chat. I'm going to reshare my screen and introduce myself here. My name is Morgan Krug. I'm a certified dog behavior consultant. I've been working professionally with animals for 18 years now. And while I'm best known for teaching my blind cat Jasper to use the buttons, I've had success with multiple dog learners, including my 4.5-year-old border collie, including my border collie. I don't remember. She's going on 6, but we've been at the buttons for 4.5 years. And I now have my 1-year-old cats that are using the buttons as well. So I'm excited to help you all with whatever your individual needs may be. And a little bit of housekeeping before we dive in fully here. Let us know if you have any technical issues. We've got our community coordinators here who are going to be able to assist. Generally speaking, Chrome and Safari tend to work best. So if you're having trouble hearing me, seeing any of the videos, anything like that, closing your window, opening it up in a different browser may solve the problem for you. But this is also being recorded, and we'll show you where you can get a follow-up with that. And on the agenda today are introductions, which we're doing right now. Then we'll chat through the keys to button teaching, modeling, first words, and target training. This is an interactive discussion, so feel free to ask questions throughout in the chat. I started to mention before, but in the chat's just a little bit easier for me to keep track of it all, and then we can talk through your question in the most relevant point as we're going through kind of our how-to here. And I'll share additional resources and then more Q&A time. So if there's follow-up questions, anything that wasn't fully addressed, or more questions that come up, yeah, we can chat through all that at the end. No worries. Love talking buttons. And that's Bernie, who just jumped down behind me and is on the screen here. That's my one-eyed boy. He will probably start using the buttons at some point here this evening as well. So a little bit more about us. While Alexander Rossi and Christina Hunger were using buttons previously with their learners, FluentPet is the original button teaching system. Now, what does that mean? That means our mission is to figure out how to teach dogs, cats, and the other animals we share this planet with, including rabbits, how to talk or an approximation of it. And we believe that pulling this off will take a village, a community that can develop and share button teaching tips and tricks and work together to discover the most successful button teaching approaches. So that's where you all come in. Our success in this mission entirely depends on your success with your learners. And the more of us who are able to progress, the faster we can figure out just how far all this can go. And in case any of you are wondering how far can this go, we think this video really helps paint a picture of what's possible. You'll probably recognize Alexis and Bunny.
The foundation for getting started with buttons is just a desire to connect. I can't remember the exact order, but I think she pressed stranger mad, and I was like, what does that mean? And then ouch paw. And then she came over to me and she put her left paw in my hand, and I was like, okay. And I looked between her toes and she had a foxtail stuck between her toes.
This was the stranger in her paw. She's got a mat between her toes.
He was able to request medication multiple times with eyes and help, or some combination of that, multiple times after having a procedure to let me know that she wanted more medication. So it really is amazing how creative they can be, even with a limited vocabulary. And it's not all medical related. There's lots of fun examples too. One of my favorite early ones was with Scout, a Catahoula mix, who would repeatedly combine water and bone. Took us a little while to figure out what she wanted, but it was ice cubes. So she got an ice cube button. So it can be as fun and simple as that. You know, whatever they're into, let them be your guide, let their interests be your guide, and build out their board accordingly. All right, so we'll get more in depth with that in a moment here and in a couple slides. But how do we start? For those of you who are just beginning, maybe even still waiting for your buttons to arrive, our first step is modeling. And you can always be doing this verbally, whether you're around the board, whether your buttons are set up yet. Narrate what you're doing, narrate what they're doing, talk to them all the time, and try to be as consistent with how you're talking to them as possible. So you can be specific with your language, keep track of the language that you're using. And if you have multiple humans in your household, try to see what concepts everybody's on the same page about. It doesn't have to be perfect though. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Just do your best. We're not robots. And those of you who speak multiple languages, fantastic. Pick and choose whatever you're saying most, or take advantage of that to avoid homonyms, avoid words that sound too similar. I know Calvin loves to share the example that he realized when working on the mad concept with Jason that it sounded very similar to dad. And so he changed the dad button to be his first name, Calvin, instead. So this is where, as you're verbally narrating, pay attention to stuff like this, but inevitably there's always adjustments that we wind up making once the board is set up. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but just to get an idea. And since this is how we teach our learners what the concepts mean, modeling, pressing those buttons, following through, early on, the more you can say yes to their presses, the easier it is for you to follow through on those presses, the better. That way we can capture their excitement, their enthusiasm around the board, and teach them this is an amazing tool that they now have available to them. And so once those buttons are set up, 3 simple steps. First, press that button. Again, the faster you can follow through, the better. And the more frequently you can follow through, the better as well. Ideally, something that you can demonstrate 10 to 15 times would be great in a day. It doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't have to be throughout the day, just whenever works for you and your learner. And step 2 is follow through. So press that button, then follow through. And step 3 is repeat. Lots of repetition, especially early on. So what does this look like in practice? I've got a video for you with Kelly and her learner Delmer showing what the first 24 hours of button use in their household looked like. And it's all Kelly modeling because Delmer didn't use the buttons at first, which is normal.
Puzzle. Outside. 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 Puzzle. Outside. Pets. Puzzle. Outside. Outside. Pets. Puzzle. Puzzle.
Yes. Puzzle. More puzzle?
Puzzle.
Press.
Puzzle. Outside. 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 Puzzle. Outside. Puzzle. Outside. Outside. Outside.
So again, it's a lot of repetition, especially early on while we're helping them understand that the buttons have a consistent outcome each and every time. So lots and lots of repetition. And those accidental presses absolutely count. They are fantastic opportunities to reinforce them. Bernie says, help want. How can I help? How can I help? So this was most likely speaking of accidental presses, That was most likely an accidental press happening behind me there. But Bernie doesn't press help very often. That's a very important button in our world. So I wanted to at least verbally acknowledge it. But notice how something like help and want, other than acknowledging it, walking over to him, how do I reinforce an accidental press with something like want? You can say what want, you can offer them things, but it's not as easy to take advantage of an accidental press with abstract concepts like that, right? So this is why we want to be thinking about concrete, actionable, easy buttons for us to take action with. Help, Bernie, want help? How can I help? Hi, bud. So again, it doesn't have to necessarily be an action, but at least verbally acknowledging that they've pressed can be incredibly helpful. All right, so we showed Kelly and Delmer, and I mentioned Delmer did not press for the first day. He didn't press for the first week or even the first month. They all are individuals. The speed at which they start pressing buttons has no bearing on their long-term success. So stick with it, stay really consistent, and then we can always play around with what buttons are down. For Delmer, it wound up being a change of what his starter buttons were before he began pressing. So totally normal for them to not pick it up right away. Doesn't mean that they're less intelligent, doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means that we can tweak things. So there is some nuance involved, but it's not rocket science at all either. All right, so in addition to modeling throughout the day, we can also work on rapid modeling. And what you rapid model is up to you. It can be rapid modeling, pressing something like play, and then engaging with a toy. But in this case, where we had a food modeling challenge in February, so you're going to see Kelly with a different learner, Nushka, and Kelly's working on a snack button. And so remember I mentioned repetition is helpful, 10 to 15 reps if you can. So if you're not home throughout the day, if you're not home throughout the evening, that's okay. Take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and rapidly pair. Model this button equals this action time and time again. So something that you can do rapidly is helpful, hence why food is a popular choice for this. So the snack button, Kelly's pressing the button with a piece of food as well to get that smell on the button as well, and to really drive home the food is touching the button, it's activating the button, you hear the sound, and then the food is being kind of tossed a little ways. Kelly's also throwing the food a little bit away so that Nushka has to turn back towards her, back towards the button to indicate that she wants more, that she's ready to go. And especially as you start to take a little bit longer pause in between each press, sometimes the learners will come up and they'll nose it themselves or they'll paw it themselves and be like, why aren't you pressing that snack button? You were just pushing it. Why aren't you doing it? And they'll try and hit it themselves. So that rapid modeling can get them to really want to engage as well. All right, so how do we pick our first buttons and words? We want to be setting ourselves up for success, both us and our learners, and we want to start with 2 or 3 buttons, more than one, to help them understand that different buttons mean different things. So ideally, those starting buttons should be motivating and meaningful to your individual learner. They're all different, they're all individuals. Easy and convenient for you to model immediately and to follow through on and say yes to, and concrete or actionable. Remember how I was mentioning with Bernie that, when he presses an abstract button, it's okay right now because we're working on abstract concepts. But if we were just starting out and he pressed the want button, that would be really tough for me to follow through. Want can be a great early abstract button, but we want to start with concrete, actionable, easy to understand, easy to follow through on, just while we're teaching. Once we have that foundation, then we can complicate things. So because the soundboard itself is an abstract tool that they're learning how to use, keep it simple to start. So something like play or toy tends to be popular, common motivating buttons for learners. Whether you start with a general play or a more specific toy is up to you. Depends on your learner. You know your learner and your household best. So for my kittens, I began with eat, pets, and play as their 3 starter buttons. And I was able to model all different types of play with different toys. But for my border collie, Adora, when she got her start, we began with ball specifically because ball is life for her. So that was more motivating to begin with that specific button. Now she has a general play, and now the cats are starting to get more specific play buttons as well. Outside is on here as a common starting button, but that doesn't mean that you should feel pressured to start with it. It's not necessarily appropriate depending on your learner. And if you live on the 10th floor, it's not going to be easy and convenient for you to model immediately. So again, don't feel like it needs to be the only, starter button that everybody starts with. If you already have potty bells, then they already have a way to ask for outside. They don't necessarily need a button to start off with. If they have a pet door, anything like that. So think about what's going to be motivating, what they're going to want to use, and they're going to want to talk about, and that's easy for you to say yes to, of course. So that's why there's so many folks who are beginning with food buttons. And we used to be concerned about starting with food. Early on, we worried that they would think that all the buttons equal food, that they would just press food buttons all the time. But what we found with more time and experience and research was that if they're going to ask about food, they're going to do it regardless of whether or not they have a specific button for it. So you might as well give them a way to talk about it. And it's so motivating and so easy on average to reinforce compared to some other things. I've even gotten to the point where I break a kibble in half and I'm able to give that little bit so I can keep saying yes to their presses. And that's where I like a general eat or that general snack button so that it's not just for meal times that they're only getting, a couple or slightly more than a couple a day. So you can model it too when you're eating. Mom eat or Morgan eat, whatever you want to refer to yourself as. So think about something like that as a really great rapid modeling option, a motivating option. And we'll talk about what to do if you can't say yes to all of their presses on the next slide or in the next couple slides as well. And that's also where something like a puzzle button can be really helpful. Puzzle refers to some kind of toy, usually that can be stuffed with food, something like, in this instance, a kibble mousey or puzzle mousey that you can put kibble in, licky mats, stuffed Kongs, things like that. That all falls under the heading of puzzle in our household. And I love that button because I can say yes to a food press, but it buys me time. It's not constantly having to, be a vending machine. It's something that they can work on independently for a little bit. So that's a good button to have as a way to say yes, that is less labor intensive for you, or you can prep ahead of time anyway. And then pets/scritches or scratches. Brush is another really popular option. Some kind of physical affection button like that can be a great option too. So let me know if there's anything that you're debating between, if you want help picking out your first buttons and words. If you've already started and had success, let us know too if there's any that you recommend. I see a great question. We'll dive into that in just a moment. So to simplify, 3 buttons, 2 or 3, 3 hex tiles, go. Even if you have a small learner, I personally don't like to start with more than 2 buttons per hex tile, even when my kittens are tiny, even for a rabbit, maybe not more than 1 button per hex tile, or 2, no more than 2 per hex tile, just so that it's not too crowded or overwhelming visually for them. And then you can always fill them in more. But yeah, we just don't want them to get frustrated and overwhelmed and give up before they've even had a chance. Oh, awesome. And Claire added, my dog caught on food in 1 day. I love it. And Calvin said that we started with eat, play, and our all-time favorite of brush. Love it. And so how do we know when to start? Maybe some abstract concepts. You might be ready if your learner is asking for things more than you're able to say yes to. That's where some early abstract concepts like more and all done, or yes and no, now and later, can all come in handy. So the idea here is that adding abstract or the more, difficult to understand, the less actionable buttons adding them in pairs that you can model in opposition to one another can help it be a bit easier for your learners to understand and to be that much more, I guess, concrete in comparison. So when we think about like, yes, eat, you're following through, more eat, you're giving them more food, now eat, you're taking action in the moment. Yes, now outside, more, again, same thing, you're taking action, as opposed to outside all done. No, we can go later. And then nothing happens, right? That's a lot more confusing for them. So thinking about these things in pairs, practicing as you narrate, thinking about which set might be a good option for you all. And thinking about emotions in this way as well. A positive emotion like happy in contrast to a negative one like mad or sad or frustrated. Time, now and soon, but also now, soon, later. Today versus tomorrow. Names, me versus you. So your name, other household member names, narrating, mom eat while I eat. I narrate when everybody else is eating, when they're sniffing, when they're playing, just to really help with that in contrast. And thinking about something like safe versus concerned, all different things like that as well. But again, we want to try to avoid frustration. So if we are adding like a more and all done button, we want to, yes, we have the more that we can take action with, but we want to make sure that we have enough things that we can say yes to on the board. And it's not just they get an all done button and it's the end of fun and it's just kind of session ending and they walk away. Sometimes that if you've got other things that you need to do, that's a good thing. But I don't want them to be too demotivated. So that's where things like the puzzle button that are easier to say yes to, that they enjoy, different toy options, things like that can be a great way to bolster the board and add buttons. And you'll know that they're ready to add buttons, ready for more buttons when they're pressing independently. We do want them ideally pressing independently. And sometimes they will actually use their existing buttons and expect a different outcome. So they might be spamming a button, pressing it repeatedly, or they might press a button once you respond, then they get up and lead you somewhere else. They might be trying to tell you that they actually want a button for something else as a result. So that's where body language is always still going to be key. We always want to be honoring that, following through. Yeah. And so we've had a few really great questions about board setup, how this works. So from Instagram, do studies show that our pets read the word on the buttons, or are they remembering their placement? And Calvin added, great question. Over 4 years of button teaching, what we've consistently seen is that our learners rely far more on scent, muscle memory, and the physical layout of the board than on the visual cues. And when we think about how our learners are designed, a lot of them, it's more movement based. It's a little bit more distant that they're looking for things. They're up close vision. They've got their whiskers. They've got their sense of smell. They've got their hearing. They've got potentially even infrared. Some studies are showing in cats anyway, ways that they're measuring heat with their organs. So they're not as focused on vision. So yes, more so muscle memory as well as scent. So that's why I try to be careful to not clean with anything too harsh, to not use Sharpie on the board, anything really strong. And why anytime I make a board change or an adjustment, I give my learners the opportunity to be there because they're memorizing via placement, right? If they wake up from a nap or come in from outside and they're like, whoa, everything's different, or they press a button and they're surprised that it sounds different because you haven't shown them that it's different, that can be really frustrating for them. So I like them to have the option of being present when we're making those board adjustments as a result. And so she asked, is it better to keep all of the buttons / hex tiles in the same location or in the location where they're most relevant, i.e. outside by the door, food by the kitchen? Excellent, excellent question. So Calvin and Robin are both saying that while you certainly can set them up, spread out, in a central location tends to be best for most households and learners. There's an extra step of bringing all the buttons together into the central board. So you can eliminate that just by starting with them already together. It tends to be easier for the learners to combine buttons when they are together, easier for us to model as well, multiple buttons when they're together. Because when you think about something like more and all done, that can go with the outside button by the back door, with the play button by the toy bin, with the food button in the kitchen, so it gets very complicated quickly with trying to combine things. So starting with them all in a central location tends to be best. You can always pick up your entire board though and move it around until you decide where that ideal placement is. Thinking about easy and convenient for you to model and press those buttons, easy for your learner to get to. And a lot of our learners like to watch us while they're pressing the buttons. They want to know, especially early on, that we're going to respond. So they're watching for our saying yes, our getting up, our body language. So putting the board somewhere that they can see us is a big piece, and not having it directly up against a wall, since that's not very conducive for them watching us, unless you're doing a wall mount, of course. All right. And I see questions. Hopefully that helps with thinking about layout. And the color, totally up to you. Some people do monochromatic, some do a rainbow. Ours is just set up for contrast. Totally up to you how you want to utilize the color. All right, so you're modeling consistently. You've chosen motivating buttons, but your learner is not yet pressing independently. That's okay. Target training can help them build confidence, connect the dots, and work on some agency around pushing the button hard enough to get it to activate. And this will be especially important for our smaller learners, like our rabbits as well. And Beth says, I don't think Kitty can push the buttons hard enough to get them to push. He gives paw and sits, but giving paw is very limp. Touching a target is very soft. And so Robin added some great resources specifically, and we'll talk about those as well. And yes, so my favorite thing to do, if you can get the timing down and you see your learner, and you see your learner staring at the button, trying to nose it, batting at the side, pawing at the top. If you see them trying it all to activate it, when in doubt, help them out so that they're not frustrated, they don't give up, they don't walk away. If you can time it and push the button, not their body in any way, but the button while they're trying to activate it, so they can feel it move under their paw, they can get an idea of the pressure needed, they get that tactile stimulation, they can hear it play, they can watch it light up if it's a connect button. So just all of that feedback helps a ton. So really trying to time that, and it's going to take time, but keep at it. And yeah, when in doubt, help them out. The first target training video as well, the one with Alexis and Bunny, I'll reshare the screen in a moment, but Irma helpfully put them in the chat. Her shortcut, or a shortcut from her video, if your learner already has a high five, just put the button, pull it out of the hex tile, put it in the palm of your hand, cue them to give you a high five, and then follow through on whatever the button says. So in this case, play. So you'd pick up a toy and engage with your learner that way. Huh, Katie? Hi, yes, play. Same thing. They have a nose touch. Put it in the palm of your hand, cue them to do the nose touch, cue them to do the shake, and then follow through on the button. That is a great way to shortcut and help them understand that they can push it too, and they do need to push it hard enough, but they've got it. And a lot of them are paw or nose pressers, but I will say my cat Bernie, my one-eyed guy, he's primarily a shoulder presser. He loves to flop on the buttons. As long as he's not frustrated and I can understand him, he's allowed to activate however he wants. So let them develop the style that works for them. All right, hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, you're definitely not alone in that. A lot of them need that weight shift to press. Great question, thank you. All right, so, and you can see on this previous slide, so the cat school, and again, these are good for our rabbits as well. The paw targeting tutorial and the Justin Bieber the cat tutorial both work on getting that weight shift. All right. So in addition to the resources that have already been shared, I want to show you where you can find some great spots on our FluentPet community. So underneath of the community, we've got this welcome area, start button teaching, step-by-step instructions. If you're the type that wants to be able to read through everything, this is for you. FAQs, same thing. If you want in-depth, if you've got a question in the middle of the night, we've got 41 different FAQs up so far. The button bootcamp section, this is just for folks like you who have taken bootcamp. Under the bootcamp tab, you can find more. If it would be advantageous to take another, you're always welcome to come back. If you have a household member that you think could benefit, same thing, send them our way. We'd love to have them. And you can switch at the top here, this upcoming, you can switch this to past and see recordings of previous boot camps. And tonight's will be up as soon as we finish. Underneath of mentorship calls, we have one of my favorite things. So these are pretty much weekly regular calls at this point that are free with our guides who have had success with their learners. One of our guides, Robin, is answering questions right now in the chat for you all. And Robin is teaching, let's see, Robin, you could probably answer faster here, but I was trying to find your next one. I'm guessing it's getting started here. But yeah, lots and lots of great options. And then under resources, we've got Learning Center linked at the top. There's paw targeting tutorials as well that were shared in the chat and on that slide. A soundboard planning tool if you're the type that wants to have an idea of where your board is going. Under discussion, this is where you can find updates. We've got lots of great info from my fellow instructors and our mentorship instructors as well. And under chat, this is where if you have any updates, struggles, wins, anything like that, we'd love to have you. You can comment here or keep an eye out on office hours, mentorship calls, all that fun stuff. One last thing I want to show off. Tons of info in the discussion here, but show off your soundboard. If you're looking for inspiration, there are as many different soundboard layouts as there are households. Here's a really cool plexiglass angled wall mount option. A lot of folks do cockpit style like this. You do island style where there's gaps in between. That's what ours looks like. And we've got a yoga mat underneath. Here's a cool cockpit that is tucked into the corner as a really nice space-saving design. But notice that Sasha still left enough room for her dogs to get behind the board so they can watch her while pressing and tuck themselves into the corner here. So that's where I just be thinking about different things. And for a lot of cats, they like to be able to nap on the board. They want lots of cushion. So again, that's where the yoga mat comes in handy for us. You can also do it via hex tiles. And this is for a senior cat who has cancer. And so comfort is key for her. So you can see lots of cushioning. She loves to nap on the board, and that way she can basically wake up, stretch, push the button that she wants, and go about her day. Great. Oh, okay, Robin, thank you. No wonder I couldn't find your name. Robin is a great resource, so that's why I was wondering. So we also have the Let's Get Them Pressing course. This is not a free option, but tons of great in-depth material. It's taught by Diane of Neurodog Training, and Alexis with Bunny is a guest instructor as well. So it's a small group. There's live coaching as well as asynchronous materials to work through, and there is 25% off if interested. That is linked in the chat. Thank you, Irma. Yes, we are inside now, Katie. We're inside. It's rain now outside. See rain? Here's some of the great topics that are covered. And then if any of you are realizing that you need more buttons or hex tiles or anything like that, we do have a 15% off coupon code that's good for the next 24 hours. Irma just linked that. Thank you. Yes, inside. And then if you have any feedback for us, we're always looking to improve. We've got a feedback link that we'll add as well. All right, y'all. So feel free to let me know if you have follow-up questions, if there's anything we can dive further into. Feel free to raise your hand, or if it's easier to type, you can do that as well. And if you don't have any questions right now, that's also totally fine. That's why we have our continuing education, our free resources for you all so that you can get the help when you need it. But again, it's not rocket science. Just have fun. I know that you all will be successful with your learners. It's just a matter of staying consistent, making it worth their while. Hi, Bernie. Hi, Katie. Katie inside, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I so appreciate you all being here and so many great questions already throughout in the chat too. Thank you, Calvin and Irma, always for your help. And Robin, it's so great to have you. And Gabrielle, I see your question now, and looks like Robin's all over it, but can puppies learn as easily, or is it helpful to wait to a particular age? Robin said sometimes it's easier to teach puppies before they have a defined way of communicating their needs instead of having to switch from a way that they've learned, like sitting at the door to go outside. A challenge with puppies, though, is the chewing of the textiles, general mischief, and they might not have as much of a vocabulary yet, like a verbal vocabulary, or as much as they understand you speaking. But that's okay. They can and do learn. I was amazed at how quickly my kittens picked it up compared to working with adult learners previously. But I also was trying to teach them what everything means, how to interact with the world. So there's other things that are slower, but the buttons themselves are faster in my experience. Still inside, Katie. I know. It's rain outside. We're going to have to be inside tonight. Thank you. All right, y'all. I don't see any typing or anything else coming through. I'll hang out just another minute in case anybody was feeling shy and does think of a question. I just wanted to thank you all so much again for being here, for being willing to try something new, to have fun with your learners. Remember, you know your learner and your household best. You've got this. I'm really, really excited to follow along with the progress that you all are going to make. And don't be strangers. We're here to help every step of the way. Thanks so much again, everybody. Really, really appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day and week. Bye with the tune of Inside being. I know, DJ Katie over there. Oh, thank you guys.